Welcome to the Influence Factory podcast. This program is dedicated to support professionals who have a desire to develop their digital business influence so they can navigate through a fast-paced, constantly growing digital world. We invite newcomers as well as our family of business influencers to a place to play, share ideas, questions, tips, and guidance with other thought leaders around the globe. Sit back and enjoy our program with our host Dean Delisle as he interviews guests. News and commentary is provided by Cait and Jackson Delisle. Power Move lessons are provided by the Influencer Marketing Department at Social Jack. And production, editing, and distribution is provided by the Social Jack production team.
All right, so this week on the Influencer News Update, we're talking about social media basics, the correct image sizes and dimensions and file types to use when you're posting and sharing images, graphics, and, content on social. So first up, we're going to talk about Facebook, and a Facebook profile picture. A lot of people think has to be, very high res, but the thumbnail only shows as 180. And so anything above 180 by 180 is going to be great because it's optimized for web. So it'll load faster, and it will also, the bigger the image, obviously, the more detail and stuff you can get in there. But the thumbnail is still only going to show as 180 by 180. And it can be bigger than that. You just have to maintain that same square aspect ratio. And then when you're posting your cover photo, you want to make sure that's 820 by 312. And that's important because a lot of times people will put information in their cover photos, like I have the podcast in mine on a lot of my cover photos. So having those correct dimensions keep from having you to cut out certain parts of the image. You get to see the whole image. So make sure that when you're doing that, or when you're uploading a new cover or any social media, you're using these dimensions because they're going to be optimized. You'll be able to see things in a preview image, like scrolling through your feed. Nothing will get cut out. Like 1200 by 630 pixels. So that's going to be when you're posting images in your feed. You want them to be able to show up in the preview image. And this is pretty standard for like all across the board. It's going to be around the same. It's not exactly the same because Twitter shows them they're a little bit more narrow and things like that.
And we're going to post all these in the group on social media and in the show notes. And Cait, you deal with a lot of this. One thing I want to address is that some people use automated platforms. Some people do different types of posting. Some of us post from phones. Jackson, you're very pixel savvy, but some of the rest of us are not. Mm-hmm. So I think this is super helpful that we'll put out for everybody. But Cait, what are some of the challenges you see with, all these different, pixel for this type of thing and this type of thing? It still feels confusing.
Yeah, so I think the best rule of thumb is always to try to find a profile picture, whether it's a company page or a personal page, that's as close to a perfect square as you can get. Of course, Instagram is a circle, but it's still going to formulate into that square picture best. So always look for the perfect square. A lot of times we see company pages like to go with just the logo as their profile picture because it's that perfect square. It's going to be nice. It's going to be high res to what Jackson said. It's going to convert well on mobile and web, and then use their cover photo to kind of generate more space. Now, LinkedIn has made some changes recently to their company pages to where their cover photos are kind of obsolete. They're very small, particularly on mobile. So that's something to keep in mind. But I think at the end of the day, you just know that you have to test. You have to test it on mobile. You have to test it on desktop. You have to look at all of the different platforms on both screens to make sure that it looks good. Because of course on LinkedIn, when you're on desktop, the profile picture is on the left-hand side, but then when you go to mobile, it's in the middle. So you just want to make sure it's not going to look great on all platforms, but if you know where your audience generally hangs out, if it's LinkedIn on mobile, you know how to test and you know how to place your cover photo. So like anything with marketing, you got to kind of trial and error, figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to ask too, Jackson. You create a lot of cover photos for us, right?
Yeah.
On those images, and like Cait was saying, I know the people on the podcast can't see, but on the Forward Progress site, we have a patterned cover photo. And sometimes, even though we like to announce things on cover photos, I think that those pattern cover photos or skylines or things that are a little less, without words, like Cait says, those things move around. So when you're building a cover photo, are you technically doing a different one for LinkedIn for us than when you do one for Facebook and Twitter, or how different are they?
Yes and no. So basically, what I'll do is, personally, I use Photoshop just because it'll export in a higher quality image. You'll get more, depth to the text and the, if you want to do drop shadows, all that stuff. So that's what I use when I'm doing things like this. And I'll create the base image for it, or I'll find, an image or purchase an image for it. And then from there, I'll start with the biggest one and I'll work to the smallest one. And then I basically just resize and save a new copy. And then I'll keep resizing the image to be smaller and smaller, because once you go from it being smaller, it's harder to bring it back to being bigger. Just
Right.
because you're crunching these pixels and then you are spreading them out again. And it's kind of like in Guardians of the Galaxy when they went through and they were going through all the different time jumps and they're like morphing and their eyes are gigantic, like that. It's kind of like that, but with pixels. So, but
Well,
yeah,
and
so that's basically the easiest answer, the simplest answer. But I would recommend always using a PNG as opposed to a JPEG image, just because it is going to be a higher quality image. Some sites, depending on the size, if you're working with like 4K dimensions, sometimes won't let you upload like for certain things, like uh, a lot of times they're pretty good about it, but sometimes they're like, hey, this image is a little too big to upload into our site. You're gonna like break the site, basically. So, and it also has to do with, it's a web page and it's got to load every time they click on your page. Those things have to load, and the bigger the images are, the longer it's going to take to load. Especially if you're on, mobile, like on your phone, not using Wi-Fi, and you're at a sporting event and you're scrolling through Twitter. Things are going to load slower the bigger the image is, because you're using weaker signal strength. So
yeah, that's good. And then Cait, you guys use Canva a lot too, right? So
We
like in
do.
a pinch, yeah. So I mean, I know that there's benefits to both. Like Jackson said, with
Photoshop.
yeah, Photoshop, you get just the higher res stuff, but it takes a little longer. But Canva works just as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you are making high quality images and you want to invest in a program like Adobe Spark or Photoshop, absolutely, more power to you. But if you're sitting there saying, I don't know where I would start to make cover photos, I highly suggest you check out Canva. I am nowhere near a graphic designer, and I can make it work. I can make high quality cover photos myself. A lot of times it gives you the dimension that you need, and it gives you free templates. Now they have paid versions. They have versions where you can pay for higher quality images and piece together what you like, but the free version does very well for you making cover photos, social media graphics, lots of things that you can use if your needs are very low. So I highly, highly suggest Canva. We talk about it a lot on here. I know we've posted it before, but it's a great free tool.
Yeah, I would just like to add. So with Canva, the only it's basically an app that you can log into, on the web. So it's a web-based app. So it doesn't take up any room on your laptop except for when you export the images. So that's a really cool feature of it, as well as and we're not even sponsored by Canva. I just love it. You know what I mean? But the coolest thing I would say is, or the one thing that I would say to watch out for is sometimes, they have to push an update when they want things to change. And if the social media changes every day, there's a new thing on social media every day. So if those dimensions change, you might not be able, their, set template, their set dimensions. If you click, I want to create a LinkedIn cover photo, then those dimensions might be obsolete by that point. So that's why you got to make sure you're using the most up-to-date ones. As of right now, it's 1584 by 396. And Canva actually just, updated their entire platform. So it's all up to date. Things are working, in sync with everything else. So definitely a cool thing to do. And then if you have the Adobe Creative Cloud, then you already have Adobe Spark and you can use that. It's basically the same thing. The only other thing that they do is they allow you to also work with videos. You can create videos optimized for social. So anything anyone would like to add, Dean?
Yeah, Julie Clark had an interesting question that I don't know the answer to. Are the cover photos different? Do they look different on Android than iPhones? I don't know the answer to that.
No. It's just like the app, you know what I mean? So the app usually looks the exact same on both phones. Sometimes placement will be different, but the layout of the profile is the same. So just settings and other, if you want to expand the settings bar and all that stuff, that's the stuff that's different, but the actual layout of the profile is the same.
Gotcha. Good to know.
Yeah. All right. So that is all for the influencer news update this week. Make sure to catch us on social throughout the week. I am at Jackson Delisle on Twitter. Dean is at Dean Delisle, and Cait is at Cait Hassett. Can't get easier than that. And you can tweet to the company page at GetSocialJack. And if you want to engage with us on YouTube, if you have any questions that you have on certain episodes, make sure to leave a comment or download the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and CastBox. So, and Spotify. Did I say Spotify?
Now you did.
Yeah, I did. So then make sure to tweet to us what type of articles you want to see. We'll make sure to get those in the show, and we'll make sure to get all the materials that we talked about today posted in the Facebook group, and I'll tweet them out as well. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Influence Factory podcast. We welcome feedback and suggestions. You can provide these by visiting our website at www.myinfluencefactory.com. And if you are interested in Social Jack's 90 Days to Influence program, you can simply go to 90daystobusinessinfluence.com and simply ask for the next steps. While our program airs regularly on Zoom webcasts and Facebook Live on Wednesdays at noon Central, we invite you to download episodes on your favorite channel: YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and who knows where else in the future. We will also provide occasional on-location live streams with special guests that we will announce in our community Facebook group, Business Influencer Alliance, as well as on all Social Jack channels. Our mission is to help you build your digital business influence with this podcast, as well as inspire, educate, and entertain those who are hungry to collaborate in a cool place with cool business professionals just like you.